June 27th, 1994, inside a Houston wedding venue. A 26-year-old model stands beside an 89-year-old oil tycoon. This 63-year age gap creates headlines, raising a specific question. Does saying "I do" to a billionaire guarantee a lifetime of wealth? Observers assume immense fortunes will soon change hands through matrimonial paperwork. Yet nearly 20 years of aggressive litigation ended with $0 inherited by the bride. High-stakes unions between entertainment figures and tycoons rarely mirror tabloid headlines. And that's exactly what Hollywood actress Anna Nicole Smith learned when she challenged the estate of J. Howard Marshall II. By the time he passed away 13 months after their ceremony, his $1.6 billion empire remained firmly locked inside a trust structure that excluded her completely. The same pattern extends far beyond oil fortunes into Wall Street consumer brands. In 2000, actress Ellen Barkin tied the knot with billionaire investor Ron Perelman, the dominant force behind the Revlon cosmetics empire. Their partnership placed Barkin in the upper echelons of New York high society, surrounded by elite art collections and exclusive real estate holdings. However, executives who manage billions in public and private assets rarely leave relationship dissolutions to chance. When the marriage abruptly came to an end in early 2006, Perelman moved swiftly to enforce rigid prenuptial boundaries. Court proceedings eventually concluded with a judge ordering him to pay $4.3 million to settle their outstanding claims. Rather than maintaining the physical reminders of her billionaire union, Barkin gathered every piece of fine jewelry presented to her during their time together. She placed the entire collection under the hammer at Christie's auction house in New York City, yielding over $20 million. No media executive illustrates the intersection of business power and personal relationships quite like Rupert Murdoch. On March 4, 2016, former supermodel and actress Jerry Hall joined the media titan at Spencer House in London. At 84 years old, Murdoch embarked on his fourth marriage, while Hall brought decades of entertainment fame. For several years, the couple maintained a visible presence across European and American political circles. They acquired vast properties, including an expansive ranch estate in Montana. To outside observers, this appeared to be a stable late-life alliance built on mutual social standing, which meant the sudden conclusion of that relationship shocked the public. In the summer of 2022, while Hall waited in the United Kingdom to join her husband, she opened her electronic inbox to find a brief email from Murdoch. The short message stated that they were finished and instructed her to communicate solely through attorneys. Decades before digital communications existed, vintage Hollywood experienced its own versions of extreme wealth alliances. In 1942, Hungarian-American actress Ziza Gabor wed Conrad Hilton, the famous hotel magnate who was 30 years her senior. Gabor had recently arrived in the United States, quickly building a name in film. Hilton possessed an ever-expanding hospitality empire spanning the globe. Their relationship proved volatile from the start, as Hilton insisted on controlling her monthly allowance and managing every household expense. Gabor later recounted that she felt completely stifled by his overwhelming focus on business operations over personal affection. When they separated in 1944, she received a relatively modest settlement of $275,000, which barely reflected the true scale of his hospitality fortune. This outcome proved that even Golden Age starlets could walk away with a mere fraction of an empire if the original contracts dictated it. Similarly structured outcomes defined the 1977 union between actress Pia Zadora and Israeli tycoon Meshulam Riklis. At the time of their ceremony, Zadora was 23 years old, while Riklis was a 53-year-old billionaire financier who built his wealth through complex mergers. Riklis famously bankrolled her entertainment career, funding controversial advertising campaigns and independent film projects to elevate her public profile. He even purchased the historic Pickfair estate in Beverly Hills, only to demolish it and build a new mansion, sparking outrage among architectural preservationists. Despite his willingness to spend millions promoting her career, the foundational assets of his financial empire remained carefully insulated. By the time they parted ways in 1993, Zadora kept the Beverly Hills mansion, while Riklis struggled to maintain control over his primary holding companies. Sometimes, the age gap stretches even further, transforming a high society partnership into a constant media spectacle. On September 13, 2014, 24-year-old model Cathy Schmitz exchanged vows with 81-year-old Austrian construction billionaire Richard Lugner. The 57-year difference turned their lavish Vienna ceremony into a tabloid frenzy across Europe. Lugner routinely brought prominent celebrities to the Vienna Opera Ball, and his union with Schmitz felt like an extension of his widely publicized lifestyle. She transitioned from modeling and television appearances to joining his high-profile public lifestyle. Yet the glamour quickly faded as disagreements over lifestyle choices and public behavior surfaced. 2 years later, the couple quietly finalized their divorce. Schmitz walked away with a sports car and a monthly stipend, while the bulk of Lugner's construction wealth remained safely within his family's established holding structures. A nearly identical strategy protected the assets of an iconic American publishing mogul. In December 2012, 26-year-old model and reality star Crystal Harris wed 86-year-old Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion. The 60-year discrepancy raised eyebrows, especially considering she had called off their previous engagement just days before the scheduled ceremony. Upon returning to complete the union, Harris signed an ironclad prenuptial document that explicitly waived any rights to his estimated $45 million publishing fortune. When Hefner passed away in 2017, his extensive trusts distributed his wealth exclusively to his children, the University of Southern California Film School, and selected charities. However, the pre-agreed contract ensured Harris received $5 million in cash alongside a $5 million residence in Hollywood Hills placed in trust. That specific arrangement highlighted how predetermined contracts provide distinct safety nets without compromising the primary estate. Model Stephanie Seymour married billionaire newsprint magnate Peter Brant in 1995. Brant, 21 years her senior, introduced Seymour to an elite world of polo matches and contemporary art dealing. Together, they amassed one of the most valuable private art collections in North America, featuring rare and historically important pieces. Their partnership hit a severe crisis point in 2009 when Seymour filed for divorce, unleashing a brutal public fight over physical assets, clothing allowances, and access to their sprawling Connecticut estate. Court documents revealed intense scrutiny over how their shared lifestyle was funded. Just as the proceedings reached a fever pitch, the couple unexpectedly reconciled in 2010, halting the division of their immense portfolio. Reconciling allowed them to keep his holdings intact, avoiding a destructive public accounting of their resources. During the 1980s, one specific alliance completely reshaped the Virginia social scene. In 1981, actress and model Patricia Kluge married John Kluge, a media titan who would eventually be named the wealthiest man in America by Forbes magazine. With a 34-year age gap, the couple constructed an enormous 45-room mansion known as Albemarle House. Patricia transitioned from her entertainment background into establishing the Kluge Estate Winery and Vineyard. When they decided to part ways in 1990, the resolution proved unusually generous compared to standard tycoon divorces. Patricia secured a settlement reaching an estimated $100 million, including the primary estate. Unfortunately, without the protective guardrails of his broader business empire, she invested heavily into a vineyard venture that ultimately collapsed. The financial strain forced her to auction off her jewelry and declare bankruptcy by 2011. On January 6, 2008, 26-year-old actress and pageant director Oleksandra Nikolayenko wed 72-year-old casino billionaire Phil Ruffin. The ceremony took place at a private club in Palm Beach, solidifying a partnership with a 46-year age difference. Ruffin owned major properties on the Las Vegas Strip, including large resort destinations and entertainment complexes. Following the wedding, Nikolayenko stepped back from her modeling and beauty pageantry career to help manage portions of the Miss Universe organization, which Ruffin had close ties to through his business networks. Unlike many of the volatile relationships documented in court records, this alliance has remained stable. They established a quiet family life while Ruffin continued expanding his gaming empire. Financial analysts note that such long-term stability usually relies on perfectly executed premarital agreements that eliminate any uncertainty regarding future asset distribution. International sports tycoons also engage in these high-profile alliances, often resulting in historic financial realignments. In 1982, 24-year-old model Slavica Radic encountered 51-year-old Formula One chief executive Bernie Ecclestone. Despite a 28-year age gap and a large height difference, the two forged a formidable partnership that lasted 24 years. Because Bernie transferred huge portions of his commercial rights into a family trust located in Liechtenstein to manage tax liabilities, Slavica actually became the legal owner of the primary racing assets. When their relationship finally concluded in 2009, this unique offshore structure created a shocking reversal of the usual divorce outcome. Court records indicated that Slavica's trust ended up paying Bernie an ongoing settlement of around $100 million per year, completely flipping the script on who compensates whom when a high society union dissolves. The film industry itself provides dramatic examples of how personal scandals destroy established wealth structures. In 2007, 31-year-old actress and fashion designer Georgina Chapman aligned with 55-year-old studio executive Harvey Weinstein. While Weinstein dominated the independent film sector, Chapman built a successful luxury fashion brand whose gowns frequently appeared on red carpets. Their partnership seemed perfectly matched for Hollywood until devastating criminal allegations against Weinstein surfaced in 2017. Chapman immediately announced their separation to distance her brand from the fallout. Because their 10-year anniversary was approaching and was crossed before finalizing their divorce, a specific clause in their premarital contract activated, sharply increasing her guaranteed payout. She secured an estimated $15 to $20 million while completely severing ties with his rapidly collapsing enterprise. And that's when observers realized how time-triggered clauses can drastically alter a final settlement. Sometimes the perceived wealth of an older tycoon turns out to be a carefully constructed illusion. In early 2000, 28-year-old actress and performer Erika Jayne wed 66-year-old powerhouse attorney Tom Girardi. For 2 decades, Girardi funded her lavish music career and reality television lifestyle using the revenue generated from his storied Los Angeles law firm. They projected an image of total financial invincibility, flying on private jets and purchasing extravagant jewelry. And that's when the entire facade violently collapsed. In late 2020, Jayne filed for divorce just as federal investigators discovered that Girardi had been systematically embezzling settlement funds from vulnerable clients to finance their luxurious lifestyle. The resulting bankruptcy proceedings completely dismantled their estate, leaving Jayne to fight off continuous lawsuits from creditors seeking to recover stolen funds through her remaining possessions. European business magnates often navigate these relationships under the intense glare of the paparazzi. In June 2008, 28-year-old Italian actress Elisabetta Gregoracci exchanged vows with 58-year-old multimillionaire Flavio Briatore. Briatore had accumulated extraordinary wealth managing international racing teams and operating exclusive nightclubs across the Mediterranean. Their ceremony in Rome featured a spectacular display of luxury, complete with customized designer gowns and a guest list of international elites. For over 2 decades, Gregoracci maintained a prominent role in European television while participating in Briatore's high-end hospitality ventures. When they officially separated in 2017, they managed the process with surprising amicability. Gregoracci retained a luxury residence in Monaco, a substantial monthly allowance, and shares in several hospitality venues. This outcome proved that carefully negotiated exits can preserve both public dignity and financial stability. Looking back at the historical roots of these complex alliances reveals that escaping an older tycoon sometimes requires extreme measures. In 1933, Austrian actress Hedy Lamarr insisted on wedding 33-year-old Friedrich Mandl, a very wealthy man who amassed his fortune manufacturing munitions despite her parents' strong objections. Mandl proved exceptionally controlling, forcing Lamarr to abandon her film career while confining her to their lavish castle. He routinely hosted fascist dictators at their dining table, where Lamarr quietly listened to their technical discussions regarding military weaponry. Realizing she was trapped in a dangerous situation, she famously disguised herself as one of her own maids in 1937, stuffed her most valuable jewelry into her pockets, and fled to Paris by bicycle and train. She entirely abandoned his vast fortune to secure her freedom, eventually reaching Hollywood, where she resumed acting and co-patented an early frequency-hopping torpedo guidance system. Answering the question of why these high-profile alliances so frequently lead to bitter courtroom fights or complete financial exclusion comes down to the fundamental difference between perceived wealth and actual ownership. Tabloid culture views an older magnate's fortune as a single pool of money freely shared by a household. In reality, modern riches are fragmented across private equity vehicles, offshore entities, and irrevocable trusts designed explicitly to prevent external claims. Unions that produce major payouts succeed only because specific contractual provisions require liquid transfers. Where those provisions are absent, even decades of partnership yield nothing when the underlying documents stand firm. Ultimately, premarital agreements dictate every financial outcome long before divorce papers are ever filed. If you want to protect a billion-dollar empire, you lock the gates before anyone is allowed inside. Beyond cash distributions and property holdings, joining forces with an established tycoon involves a complex exchange of cultural and economic capital. Actresses bring immediate global media recognition, public goodwill, and organic access to entertainment networks that traditional executives rarely cultivate through routine corporate operations. In return, the older billionaires offer access to elite private investment networks, philanthropic boards, and high-level political connections. Cultural visibility can be shared immediately, but financial equity remains strictly guarded by custodians. When the partnership ends, the celebrity spouse retains their public platform, but access to the underlying treasury becomes subject to complex litigation under standard family laws unless explicitly defined beforehand. This imbalance explains why prenuptial negotiations are fiercely contested by business representatives long before the wedding invitations are sent out. From $0 defeats to unexpected billion-dollar windfalls, the reality of marrying into extreme wealth rarely aligns with public perception. Hollywood glamour may secure an invitation into the world of elite finance, but ironclad documents determine who actually retains the money when the relationship concludes. While public attention focuses on glittering ceremonies and luxury lifestyles, the true power rests within private boardrooms and family vaults where the rules are quietly enforced. It is a world where romance intersects with rigid financial planning, leaving no room for assumptions or verbal promises. If this deep look into high-stakes partnerships and hidden financial structures gave you a new perspective on elite fortunes, hit the like button and subscribe to join us for more real stories behind the world's biggest figures.